guys. Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to do something a bit different. Actually, you know what? First, let's address the elephant in the room. I'm in a different room. So there's no clock behind me, and that's because I'm in my makeup room. I'm actually redoing this room because I wasn't feeling the way it was before. And I will do a transformation video, which you should check out, but I haven't filmed it yet. Hopefully I can show you before and after pictures and stuff. I'm still waiting for some stuff to come in, like I need a new makeup chair and stuff like that. But I will show you, I will give you guys a tour once everything is in the room and I'm pleased with the way it looks. But for now, it's not finished. But yeah, I thought today would be good for me to speak about my career, so what I do now, but more importantly how I got to where I am now, because it's not really a straightforward journey. I didn't exactly, things didn't pan out the way that I thought they would. There's never really a straightforward path, but essentially I'm kind of happy with where I am at the moment, and that's the most important thing, right? I just thought it was important for me to tell this story because I know there's some people in university who may not have a grad scheme at the moment and are wondering what they're going to do. Or maybe there's some people taking A-levels and they haven't got into the university that they wanted and they're not sure what they're going to do now or how it's going to impact their career in the future. So I thought as though me telling my story would be a bit helpful. I hope it inspires some people. So yeah, let's get started because I'm blabbering a bit right now. Okay, so firstly I'll start with A-levels. I didn't actually do badly in my A-levels. For AS level I got 3 A's and a B. Now you're probably all thinking, why are you watching this video? But I promise you, don't click off, right? The story gets a bit more complicated, but yeah, I got 3 A's and a B. And I got an A in economics, psychology and sociology, and then maths I got a B, but then I actually retook the AS level maths afterwards and got like one of the papers and then got an A, but still I decided to drop psychology instead of dropping maths because I was going to take economics at university and it wouldn't make sense for me to keep psychology, and also I found it quite hard, to be honest with you, so I dropped psychology. So yeah, I took economics, sociology and maths forward. I went forward with those subjects. I applied to top universities. I applied to LSE, I applied to Nottingham, I applied to Warwick, I applied to I think Bristol, and then my insurance was Kent. In the end, guys, I only got into Kent. I kid you not. Everyone else usually has a firm and insurance. I only had one option. And some of you may hear this and be like, but you got good grades. Well, how did you not get into these universities? Well, there's a couple of reasons, to be honest with you. Alright, so one of the reasons was my year was the last year to go to university and pay 3k fees. Right? The university fees were increasing to £9,000, and so because of that, people who would have taken gap years were no longer taking gap years. They were deciding to go straight to university, and it became really competitive. One of the reasons why I didn't get into those universities was because of the fact that it was so competitive. Another reason was my personal statement. My personal statement was shite. And the thing is, while I was writing it, I thought it was so great, but now I look back and I'm just like, yeah.
Timmy, you fumbled. You really fumbled the bag.
Yeah, I really fumbled because essentially it was a whole load of nothing. I applied to different types of economics at each university that I applied to. So like, I think at Nottingham, I applied to international economics, whereas at LSE I applied to economics and economic history, and then at Bristol it was straight economics, just loads of different types of economics. And my personal statement was very generic. It wasn't specific to any particular university, and in the end it seems as though only Kent thought it was good. All the other ones thought it was crap and they rejected me. So yeah, I got rejected by 4 universities and only had 1 university as an option. The college I went to was Woodhouse, so it's a 6th form college. I went to Woodhouse College, and that's in Finchley. They were quite good about it. They told me that I should do adjustment once my results come out, and hopefully a better university will take me. In the end, none of the better universities were available, so I ended up going to Kent. That was it. That's what I had to do. I had to go to Kent, and I was really upset about it. I won't lie, I cried. Like, I know Kent is not a bad uni. A lot of people will watch this video and think, but Kent's not that bad. I'm not saying it was a bad uni. It wasn't a Russell Group uni, and I knew that working in the top banks and like the highest paying fields, they were looking for Russell Group universities. They were looking for top 5 universities, top 10 universities. If you go and job descriptions right now or grad schemes right now, they'll be very selective about the universities that you go to. I know it's slightly getting better now, but at the time I knew that I had seen job descriptions that specifically said Russell Group universities only, or people that do not go to top 5 universities need not apply, things like that basically. And so I knew it was going to be more difficult for me essentially, and it made me really upset. So I thought about it, and I thought there needs to be a way for me to stand out from everybody else. Like, if I'm not going to go to one of the best universities, what am I going to have to do in order to stand out as an applicant? So I thought, okay, you know what, even though I'm not going to go to a Russell Group university, I'm going to get a first. It didn't happen, by the way, but I told myself I'm going to get a first. Then I said, another thing that I'm going to do is do internships. So I applied for this thing called the City Brokerage. I'll put their link here, but honestly, this was a godsend. God sent this space to me. So at the time I was living in Hackney, and if you were living in Hackney or going to school around the city essentially, then you could apply for the City Brokerage and they would help you get internships in the city. So they helped me get an interview at Royal Bank of Canada, RBC. So I did an internship at RBC through the City Brokerage. I think it was like for between 5 to 8 weeks. I'm not sure exactly the time period. I think their website may state it, so maybe I'll put it here. If not, check out their website. But yeah, I did an internship with them, and I really clicked with one of the managers there. He was really senior actually. He was a really nice Canadian man. He was so lovely, honestly, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my working career. Yes, he was so nice. And so I kept in touch with him after the first year of my internship. Sorry, let me actually say what I did. So I interned in wealth management, and I had never heard of wealth management before that internship, but I essentially found it really interesting. What wealth management is essentially managing the money of ultra high net worth individuals, the footballers, the actors, stuff like that, people like that, really rich people. You're managing their money, you're doing their mortgages. So I worked in the credit team there, well, credit documentation, and what they were doing was creating mortgage documentation for the millionaires. So this is my first toe dip into mortgages, by the way. That was my first look into the world of mortgages. It was quite interesting because I hadn't looked at mortgages before. Yeah, so I did that. I then kept in contact with the really nice guy, and I would email him while I was at university and just let him know how university was going. And essentially I asked to go back the following year to intern again. And just to make a long story short, essentially from the period of 2011 to 2013, I interned every summer at Royal Bank of Canada. I went back, and they would pay me as well. So as an intern on the City Brokerage, they paid me £300 a week. At the time, it seemed like a lot of money to me. So yeah, they paid me £300 a week. And then the following year, I can't remember how much I got paid, but it was a bit more. And then in my last year, I got paid 28k. I remember because I was really gassed. Oh yeah, I'm getting paid 28k. So yeah, they paid me 28k pro rata, obviously. So 28k over 8-week internship. So it wasn't like I got the whole 28k as pro rata. Yeah, so they paid me really decent money. I was happy with the opportunity. I really liked the bank as well. They were really kind people. It wasn't long hours. People essentially did 9 to 5 or 9 to 5:30, went home. So I really felt like it would be a good place for me to start my career. However, God had different plans, or they had different plans. So out of all the people that I interned with, they were going to offer 3 of us a grad scheme. So I think altogether there were like 6 of us on the last internship. They all had not been at RBC before. That was their first year interning at RBC. I was the only one who had been there for 3 years because obviously I had been asking to come back. It wasn't an official grad scheme. So yeah, every year I would go back. So maybe there were 6 of us in the last intake. They said that they were offering a grad scheme to 3 people, and then they offered, I think it was like 5 of us to come back and be interviewed for the grad scheme. I was one of the people that they asked to come back and be interviewed for the grad scheme, but in the end they didn't give it to me. Yeah, they didn't give it to me. I was devastated. So yeah, I had no plan after university. And at this point as well, it's important to mention, at Ken, I studied economics with a year in industry, but you have to find your own internship for the year. I also interviewed at Goldman Sachs to do their year placement. I got through like 3 rounds, and the last round I fumbled. I really fumbled. I said their stock price wrong. I stated it with so much confidence, and the woman was like,
No, it's completely wrong.
so yeah, I really fumbled, and then they didn't give it to me. So I ended up not doing a year in industry. And I had no plan. I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to go to RBC. RBC had rejected me. So basically I was going to get an entry level job once I finished university. That was my plan now. But my plan was also still to get a first. So in my first year of university, I got a first. In my second year, I got a 2-1, but it was like a high 2-1. So I thought maybe I could still get a first. Nope, I ended up getting a 2-1. So I got a 2-1. I also went to like an average uni. So there's nothing really to make me stand out other than these 3 years of internships that I had, which honestly, if you feel as though you're not at the best university at the moment, and maybe you probably won't get a first, I don't want you to think negatively like you're not going to get a first, but just as a backup, I would definitely say try and get into an internship. It will definitely give you that little edge over other people. So that would be my first tip, like try and get an internship. There's lots of schemes available. I've mentioned the city brokerage. I know there's lots of things for like the BAME community to try and get them internships too. So I'll try and list some here as well. But definitely look at using these type of things to your advantage so that you can have something special in your CV. So anyway, I come out of university now and I'm looking for an entry-level job. And as I mentioned before, I had some experience in credit because I did credit documentation in my first 2 years at RBC. The last year when I was at RBC, I did private client wealth management, which essentially is like a glorified assistant. I was being a glorified assistant. I had to do cold calls. It was terrible. I really hated private client wealth management, but anyway, I had credit experience. So I played on my credit experience. I got a call for a job that I had interviewed for. It was at the FCA, and they had offered it to me. But the thing is, I was a contractor at the FCA, an external contractor. So guys, if you remember, I said when I worked at RBC in my final year there, they paid me 28k, right? I went to the FCA, and my first year there as a contractor, guys, just so you know, just to put this out there, they paid me 24k. Guys, I couldn't believe it. Like, before I even graduated, I was earning more money than that, and they were paying me 24k. I couldn't believe it. But I thought, you know what, the name on my CV is going to be good for me, so let me just suck it up and do this, right? So yeah, they paid me 24k. I did it for 3 months. Literally, guys, there was no way. I had the name on my CV, and straight away I was like looking for other places, just taking the experience that I had, what they had taught me, move on straight away and find a new job. So then I'll just explain what I did at the FCA. At the FCA, I worked in consumer credit authorizations. Basically, in order for people to give loans, finance, things like that, they have to apply for permission from the FCA in order to do so. And I was looking at their applications and accepting or declining them. I was speaking to the customers on a day-to-day basis, like all these car finance people. I was speaking to them and either accepting or rejecting their applications. Sometimes they were car brokers, things like that. I was working in that type of credit. So then I started looking for other jobs, and I went for an agency called Robert Waters. It's quite a popular one for finance, or I think for other things too, but anyway, I used Robert Waters, and they said that there's essentially a makeshift grad scheme going on at Coutts. And Coutts is a branch of RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland. It's the high net worth arm of RBS basically. So it's known as the Queen's Bank. I worked there for over a year and a half, and when I started out there, I started in unsecured lending. So it's just random loans and things like that, so things that don't have a property secured by it. But then I had told them I had experience in credit from when I worked at RBC, so my interest was mortgages. They paid for me to study for the CeMAP, and then I completed the CeMAP really quickly because I wanted to just move teams. So they moved me to the mortgages team, and that's where I started getting mortgage exposure. I did secured lending at Coutts, so I was doing mortgages for millionaires, but essentially I was doing the credit documentation behind it. So I was creating the mortgage documentation, basically all these key facts illustrations, all the documentation behind it I was creating, but the private banker was speaking to the clients. I knew I wanted to move into the actual assessment of the credit applications, so I asked for a mentor, and they gave me a mentor within Coutts who did the credit analysis behind it. So I would go to sit with him like once a week just to learn the process, and my aim was to move to the credit side of the business. So when a job would come up, I was going to apply for it. They started making everyone redundant, guys. Like, my luck was so bad. So my whole team, oh no, I should probably mention that during this process, before they started making everyone redundant, I was planning to move anyway. So I was trying to get to J.P. Morgan, their mortgages team, and guys, I kid you not, I went through about 8 interviews with J.P. Morgan. I'm not joking, 8 interviews, and then I had the last interview, and then they made me wait 1 month. I was calling them every single week. They were like, oh yeah, they haven't made up their mind yet, 1 month they kept me waiting to tell me that I didn't have the job. I was so upset. Oh guys, all this disappointment. But yeah, so I didn't get the job at JP Morgan, and then Coutts started making everyone in my team redundant. So they said that, yeah, we're going to be made redundant, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I was already looking for a job anyway, so it's fine, I'll continue looking. Then they made my mentor redundant too. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to move to RBS either, or move to the credit side within Coutts. So I'm definitely going to have to look outside. I then saw a position at one of the big 3. I don't want to say which one because I hated it there, and I don't want to get in trouble, but essentially I hated them. I hated it there so much, guys. It was terrible. It was the worst experience of my life. I hated it, but anyway. At one of the big 3, they needed somebody with mortgage experience, and so I applied. I went for a few interviews, not as many as JP Morgan, but yeah, I went for a few interviews, and they offered me the job. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a consultant, I'm going into consulting. And it was a huge pay rise, guys. So I moved to this big 3 place because of my mortgage experience, but then they didn't put me on any mortgage projects. So I was doing like basically compliance stuff, and I hated it. Like, they just played on my FCA experience, and I just didn't like it. And I just feel like consulting isn't for me personally. I don't want to put anybody off. Consulting might be for you, it wasn't for me. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I didn't like that big 3 company, but maybe you would like that big 3 company. I don't want to put anybody off. My personal experience with them wasn't nice. Yeah, so I went to this big 3 company. I worked there for 1 year. I gave consulting 1 year, and then I decided, yeah, it's definitely not for me. I had a 3-month notice period, and I hated it so much I quit without having a new job. I thought, you know what, maybe I'll go into contracting, so within that 3 months I'll find something. I didn't find anything in those 3 months. Yeah, I went for some interviews. I got rejected because they offered the position internally, which is very annoying. I feel like if you apply for a job, always ask them if they're recruiting internally as well, or any of the other people that have applied are internal applicants, because it's most likely that they're going to give it to the internal person rather than you, and they're wasting your time. They completely wasted my time. But then I had interviewed at one of the big 3 credit rating agencies, right? I work for one of the credit rating agencies at the moment. So I interviewed there and I was waiting for them to come back to me. Literally, I had my last day at the big 3 accounting firm place. I came home thinking that, I'm going to be unemployed. I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage, because, by the way, at this point I had bought my house. So then I had got home from my last day at the big 3 accounting firm, and I literally thought, I'm just going to be unemployed for a little bit. And then I got the call. That same day, I got the call from the job I had been waiting for, and they said, they'll take me. So I got the call that I got the job at the credit rating agency, and I was going to be a credit analyst. So I started off at analyst level, now I'm senior analyst. I just got promoted recently. But I would say there are a couple of things that really helped me get my role that I'm in now. So I work in commercial mortgage-backed securities, right? And essentially what I do is, one of the ratings that I've done actually is Stratford Westfield. So there's a mortgage on Stratford Westfield, and the bank that lent the money to the owners of Stratford Westfield, as in gave them a mortgage, have securitized that mortgage, and essentially it's like they've sold the debt, and they've sold it in sections, or what we call tranches. So it's quite complicated to explain, but that's a basic summary. And what I do is rate those tranches. So you know how the UK have a rating of AA, I think it is at the moment, AA minus, I think. We'll rate that mortgage back security, or the mortgage behind it, AAA. So Stratford Westfield's bond is rated AAA, and I did that analysis. So now, if we're going to talk about how I got each of the jobs that I've been in, I would say the FCA was simply because of my internship experience that I had. And they were looking for entry-level people and cheap labour, if I'm honest with you. I feel as though that's what they were looking for. So that's how I got the first one. I would say point 1 is internships. My second role was at Coutts, and that was because of my credit experience from my internships as well. So again, it was also because of my internship experience, but then I also knew some of the regulations behind credit because of my work at the FCA. So I had played on my experience of the role I was in temporarily, the FCA role. So that really helped get the Coutts experience. And then while I was at Coutts, I studied for the CeMAP, so take advantage of the fact that the company may pay for exams for you. So they paid for that CeMAP for me. I took it, and that helped me get roles in the future. Something that I did personally is, I knew I wanted to get into real estate finance. I wanted a role that involved real estate, and I checked all the job descriptions of a role in real estate, and all of them required financial modelling. And so I looked up courses that I could take in financial modelling, and I paid by myself for a course at City University. I can't remember how much it was, but it was a few £100s anyway, and I paid with my own money to get that course because I knew it's what I needed to get into the field that I wanted. So if you don't take Excel-based modules at university, or you're not that good with Excel, then I would advise for you to take one of those courses. It doesn't have to be the one at City University. Just brush up on your Excel skills, because it really helps in the world of finance, or in the type of finance I'm in anyway, or if you're into real estate. If you want to be like a mortgage advisor or something like that, then you don't need the Excel modelling, you just need the CeMAP. So it really depends which path you're looking to go down. So that's something I did while I was at Coutts, get the financial modelling course under my belt and put that on my CV. So the big 3 firm, the reason why I got that job was because of my CeMAP experience and the fact that the FCA had done a review on mortgage regulation, and I knew all about that because I had recently done the CeMAP. So that's the reason why they hired me for that role, even though I hated it there, but we won't talk about that. So the role after that is the role I'm currently in now, and the reason why they hired me is because I had done the financial modelling course. So I had the basic understanding of financial modelling. I had credit exposure. I had numerous roles within credit at this point, so they really knew I understood the concept. They knew I understood mortgages, so that really helped me get my current role. So I would say if there's a field that you know you want to get into, look at the job descriptions of positions in that field, and then look at the key skills that they require, and look at how you can build up your CV to get to that point. Being in my job now, I know the type of people they recruit for their grad schemes. It's taken me going through how many different jobs for me to now have the skill set that they needed, and that's all because I looked at job descriptions within the field I wanted, and then I built up my CV to be at the point where I had the skills that they needed, not just a degree. So I would say if you haven't got the first class degree, you haven't gone to the best university, you haven't always had the best grades, build up your CV. I would say you should look at job descriptions online and look at the skills that they require to be in that role. Maybe you have to work your way up within a company. Maybe you need to be in an entry-level position first, but just build your CV to demonstrate that you're able to do that role, and then you'll eventually get there. So that's basically my story. I hope it's been helpful and informative. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Please subscribe and press the notification button. If there's any other videos that you want me to do, whether it be related to careers or related to mortgages, please drop a comment down below and I'll work on getting that out to you. Like, I've got more time now, so hopefully I can be of help. So yeah guys, thank you for watching and speak to you soon.